Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm making nihari, and it's traditionally a recipe that's come from India when the Mughals were there, but it's also made very much so in Pakistan, and I think I've known of it to be a Pakistan recipe, a Pakistani type of recipe, but it's a really well cooked stew with lamb or beef, and it just has some of the Indian flavors. So to make it at home, what you will need is a kilo of lamb leg, which I have marinated. So this is it has bones in it because the idea is that you want it to cook the bones. You want a really good bone broth. It's a really well cooked stew. So this is I bought it yesterday from the butcher's, and it was one kilo of lamb leg cut into big pieces, and then I marinated it with salt, ginger and garlic paste. I put 2 tablespoons of ginger garlic paste, salt, 2 teaspoons of salt, and then I've let it marinate overnight. I've just pulled it out of the fridge, and that is what we're going to use today. And then for the nihari powder, you can buy it ready-made at the shops. I haven't tried it, but I understand them to be quite spicy, and I want my children to enjoy this recipe, so I've steered clear from the box. However, in the future I'm pretty sure I'll try it out, and if I find one that works well for the whole family, then I'll let you know. But to make the nihari powder, what you need to have is 1 tablespoon of whole coriander seeds, 1 tablespoon of cumin seeds, 1 tablespoon of fennel seeds, about 4 to 5 cardamom. You need approximately 10 cloves, 6 peppercorn, 6 peppercorn, 1 star anise, and then here it should be 1 long piece of cinnamon, but I've just a few pieces there, so I've used that up. Then here I have a teaspoon of garam masala powder. I like to put a little bit of turmeric in there, although not everyone puts it, but I tend to put a little bit of turmeric in there. And there is just 1 teaspoon of salt, just because the meat has 2 teaspoons of salt in there. And then here is 1 cup of flour. Okay, and here I have 2 cups of oil. It's vegetable oil. You can use butter or ghee, clarified butter, which gives it a really good flavor. I'm going to use some of it too, but the amount that you use, you can substitute for this much. Okay, this is just the initial ingredients. You're going to need, I'll show you what you need for the tadka, or the sauteed onion step of it. But for the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to heat up the oil in my Instapot, which is right here. So it's on. I'm going to put it on saute, on the saute mode right there. Okay, and then in we go with 1 cup. We're going to do 1.5 cups of oil, okay? And then we're going to let that heat up. So let that heat up, and then we're going to add the meat in. But I'm going to wait for that to heat up, and I'll show you what I do to add the meat in there. So whilst we're waiting for the meat to heat up, I'm going to quickly whiz this up in my little grinder here, just to create the powder, and then we will add the meat into the oil. I forgot to mention that you will need quite a bit of curry leaves, about 10 to 12 curry leaves into the powder mix. Okay, so here we go with the curry mix and curry leaves inside the nihari powder. Okay, and then I'm just gonna whiz it up. And that's it, all whizzed up into a lovely little powder, and it smells amazing. Oh, it smells divine. Okay, so I've actually added a bit more oil to it, where I only have now 100 milliliters of oil left. That's going to be for the final tadka, the final saute that we're going to do with the onions, to pop onto the final nihari. Okay, so for the moment it's nice and warm. You can see the ripples, I guess, in there, or the signs of it being nice and warm and hot. So in we go. This recipe does use a lot of oil, but we do drain. I tend to drain quite a lot of oil out. Be very careful it doesn't splash, okay, when you turn. So we're gonna let it cook now for for some time, until it looks nice and brown. So you want the color of the meat to have changed. See, something like that. So we're gonna continue cooking it for 10 minutes, okay? I would say 10 minutes for sure, maybe 15, but I'll let you know. Okay, so this has been cooking for 15 minutes, and this is how you want it to look. So there's no signs of any raw meat. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our, here you have your nihari masala, right? And you have paprika. Normally if you're putting red chilies into your, or chili powder into your meal, then you can substitute the paprika for the chili. But I haven't put any chili into my recipe at all. So I put paprika because it's important. It has a little tint of red. That's kind of the traditional coloring. So in we go with the nihari mixture, and we're gonna let that cook now for a bit. So I'm gonna let this cook with the nihari powder in there for 5 minutes, because you want the masala and the masalas to cook nicely. You don't want that raw taste. Okay, do you see that red tint? That's how it should be. Okay, so that's 10 minutes with the nihari masala. Okay, so it's been cooking for some time now, and in that time what I did is I mixed the flour with water. Okay, so I went in with 300 ml of water and I put all the flour in there and I mixed it really well, okay, so no clumps. And now we're going to put that in there and stick in another liter of water so that the flour can cook now. I'll be back with the water. Okay, I said a liter before I meant half a liter. So in we go in with the water, because you want the flour to cook properly, the meat to be very nice and tender, and the bone broth to also cook. So here we are. It's gonna keep on, and we're gonna let this simmer for a bit. Okay, before we put the Instapot on our next mode, which will be the meat stew mode. So we're gonna let this cook for half an hour with the flour, but keep an eye on it because you don't want it to be too thick. And just stir it occasionally. All right, so half an hour and I'll be right back. But let it keep on cooking in this concoction on the saute mode on your Instapot. Okay, so it's been cooking for half an hour, and now what I'm going to do is let it rest, okay, for a bit before we put it onto our stew mode. Okay, so now just let it rest until it cools down completely. Okay, so the nihari has been resting for a bit. The whole point of letting it rest is so that the oil separates and you can scoop the oil out. Okay, so this takes a little bit of time to scoop the oil out. But you need to take your time and try and remove as much as you can. Okay, so that's the next step. I'm going to take out as much as I can and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've taken all the oil out, and then as I was taking out the oil, I could feel at the bottom of the pan that it had burnt, or there was a little bit of stickiness at the bottom, which would prevent it from going into stew mode. So what I had to do was I pulled all the I took out all of the Nihari. I cleaned the base and then I put it back in. And I've added another liter of water to make it this viscous for it to now go into stew mode. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to close this, make sure it's at the back there to enable the stew mode. And we're going to go meat stew, 35 minutes. And it's gonna let us know when it's done, okay? And that's gonna be the step for now. Okay, so we have finished the meat stew and it's been on the keep warm, okay, for about an hour, just because I wanted the pressure to release naturally on its own. That way we can ensure that it's very tender, the meat. So here you'll see that there's loads of more oil, which we're gonna need to remove because we left it standing for the 1 hour. Okay, so now I've managed to take out literally, it's almost half a liter of oil, okay, from it, which is a good amount of oil you want to remove. Yes, and then now what I'm gonna do, when you see the meat, you will see that it's very tender. Which is exactly what we were going for right there. Look, it's literally the softest meat. And that is supposed to be how Nihari is. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna do the tadka. Okay, so on a different pot here, we're going to put the 100 ml of oil that we had left over from the initial quantity of oil. And we're gonna let that heat up. And then we're gonna pop in. So whilst you're waiting for everything to cook, what you need to do is make sure you have, this is about a medium. So now we're gonna saute. We're gonna stick the onions in there. And we're gonna let this cook. So once this is browned, I will show you what it looks like, and then we'll pop it into the Nihari. Okay, so this is the level of brownness we want. It's not quite burnt, but it is more of a darker brown, and this will go straight into the Nihari. I'll just change the, okay, and in it goes. Okay, all of it goes in, and give it a quick stir. We're gonna let it saute now and let it bubble for a bit, and then it'll be ready to go. And I'll show you the steps then, okay? Okay, so I've been letting it bubble. So when you put on the saute mode, it lets you bubble it for a while, cook it for a while. Simmer is the word I think I'm looking for. So it was simmering for about 10 minutes, and this is perfect. This is the thickness and the tenderness that we wanted and we're looking for. So now I'm just gonna let it cool. It's actually ready to serve. Okay, and this is me pouring it into one of the bowls, and you take some lime and just a little squeeze of lime and a few bits of ginger garlic. And that's it, with a little bit of lime. If you have some coriander, you can pop some in there. But due to the coronavirus, we don't have access to all the ingredients, so I don't have any coriander to garnish on top. And that's it, guys. I hope you liked my recipe. It is much easier to make it in the Instapot. You do need to just be careful that it doesn't stick when you do let it bubble for a bit at the bottom. Okay, but as long as you can just ensure that doesn't happen, or if it does happen, then make sure that you do just clean it out quickly and then continue with the cooking process as per my video. Okay, hope you like my recipe, and I hope you're gonna give it a go. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye bye.